Alright, that was weird. Anyway, we're here. Let me fix my hair. There we go. Um, we were gonna do something completely different tonight. And then Winds of Winter information dropped. So, let's talk about one specific thing that this new quote unquote leak, right, has to say. So I didn't really look. I don't know if if it dropped yesterday or if it dropped this morning. But someone did point out that most of the most legitimate leaks for George R. R. Martin, for Game of Thrones, for Song of Ice and Fire, for anything dealing with that, are usually random, anonymous leaks. So, in some sense, I kind of buy into it. So, there's a couple notes I want to go through first before we actually discuss the one hypothesis I might have about this. I say my now let's deal with it. Now this is my hypothesis. Whether I'm right or wrong, don't really care, but it would make sense. It would make really it scarily makes sense to me if they do it this way. So let's go over a couple notations, and then we'll get into the thing that I want to hypothesize about. All right. One, if this leak is true, which I just detailed, most random leaks about Martin and Game of Thrones and everything else generally ends up being correct. So, one, Winds of Winter was done and turned in back in December, which means they're ramping up for a late summer, early fall, hi guys, early fall release. That would be awesome. It's supposed to be 1,600 pages. That would be awesome. Third, I think it's funny how in this leak, I'm gonna say everybody, but it's not everybody. It's literally just Jaime and Jon get turned into whites or White Walkers. I find that very funny. And then the one that I want to hypothesize about, guys, the one that I really want to sit here and turn my gears on, okay? It says that Jon is resurrected by ghosts. How? That while Jon is dead, he can see everything going on. He can see what's going on with Arya, what's going on with Jaime and Brienne, what's going on with Stoneheart, everything, right? And then he wakes up. He gets released from his duties at the Night's Watch because he obviously died. His turn is over, right? But people make comments, supposedly in this leak, that they directly reference him looking more like a White Walker than a White, which is kind of interesting because this is where my idea kind of stems from. What if Martin is not only setting up Jon to face off against the Night King at the end of the series, but what if Jon actually leads everybody away north of the Wall, just like they set up in Game of Thrones, but because he's a White Walker, because he defeats the Night King, what if he becomes the new Night King? What if this leak is correct and they are legitimately setting up Jon to become the new Night King? Because I think it's been, I hope, no, it has, by at least 2 or 3 people, it's been laid down that pretty much the Night King has always been a Stark. So, what if the destiny of, right? Go with me here. What if Azor Ahai, right? What if it is Jon? But what if it's not to defeat the White Walkers? What if it's to actually take control of them? And by them doing that fulfills the destiny and saves the lives of everyone else. That might be a different twist that we're not expecting, because we're expecting it to come down to basically between Dany, possibly Tyrion, Jon. Oh, they also detailed in the leaks that now that Jaime is a White Walker, he's having dragon dreams now, same as Tyrion. That's interesting. But what if they are legitimately setting up? What if they actually are legitimately setting up Jon is going to become the new Night King? They're still holding down that Bran is going to be the end all be all king by the end of it. The way he's turning out, how is that going to be possible when he's going to be stuck to a goddamn tree? Because that looks like the direction they're going with him. So that's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, it just, I was sitting there reading it. I'm just going through, because they give a outline detail of each chapter that got turned in. What? So if you guys want to see it, go look it up at your own peril. But yeah, what if Jon is the Night King? What if by the end of it, sorry guys, what if by the end of it, he defeats the Night King, and by doing that, he assumes the role. So by doing that, he then turns the army around and marches them back north again. But then that also, right, because prophecies are meant to be fulfilled over and over and over again. That's one thing that no one really goes into when they're describing the whole nature of prophecies, is that it's cyclical. It does not stop, right? So what if Jon's meant to defeat the Night King, become the Night King, march them away to save everybody, only to turn around and march his ass back and attack everybody in, 10, 20, 30,000 years? That's another very, very interesting thing to consider with this whole thing. But yeah, this one isn't going to be that long today, guys. It wasn't even supposed to be the topic I wanted to bring up, but here we are. I found it interesting, and I wanted to talk specifically about that one thing. You guys all have a good night. I'll see you again tomorrow.